Hey guys, welcome back to UKDiver. If it's your first time here, then just welcome. I'm glad you're here for part 2 of the Egypt series. So as I said in part 1, I'm going to do this series in 3 parts, and this is part 2 where we're going to actually look at the dive-in that I did. So let's just jump straight into it. So as I said in the previous video, the actual tour that we did was the northern reefs and wrecks, and there was basically 2 reasons for me wanting to do that. The first and most obvious one is there is a lot of bucket list diving on the Northern Wrecks and Reefs tour, especially when it starts coming to some of the wrecks. The second reason was more to do with who was coming with me. So as you know from part 1, I took my wife, Neil took his wife, so we've got the dive bags with us, and they wanted to come not only for the drinking and the sunshine but also for the snorkeling. And if you do one of the southern tours, you're not allowed to go snorkeling because basically you end up as shark bait. So that's the why. So the rest of this video is going to be broken down into 2 sections. The first one we're going to look at wrecks, and then surprisingly second part we'll have a look at the reefs that we did. So do stick around to the end. I've got a little announcement for you that you're not going to want to miss because this could be a golden opportunity for you. So stick around to the end and let's start talking about the wrecks. So here we are guys, and welcome to the Carnatic. So this was the first wreck that we did of the weekend, and as you can probably see, the viz is, well, there's my opinion of it. It was really poor. I don't know what was going on, neither did the dive guys, to be honest. I mean, okay, in the UK this viz would be considered good. In Egypt, really not. It was super green. Now, the locals in the first hotel that we stayed did say they'd had some bizarre weather for Egypt. The temperature was up in the 40s the week previously with no wind, and they said that kind of stuff doesn't happen till about August. They were definitely saying that the weather's changing and it was super hot, so I don't know if that had something to do with it, but you know, as you can see, it's very green, not the blue. So the Carnatic is famed for this kind of deck structure. So the decks were wooden and they've rotted away over time and left this fabulous kind of rib structure going down, and there's 2 or 3 decks that you can sort of crawl through on this. And you can just imagine, you know, when the viz is very good and the sun's beaming through, it is absolutely spectacular down here. The place is swarming with glassfish, and I've seen some superb shots coming from this. We just didn't have the conditions. As you can see, it's just murky, it's green, it's not very nice. She was still beautiful, but she's definitely one I'd come back to. Now the dive guys said when you get to the bow of the boat, you look down this sort of porthole bit and you can see from one end of the boat right to the other. Well, not today. So yeah, the second wreck we did was the Giannis D. Now, I didn't take my camera down for that video, guys, because the Giannis D is famed for her engine room, and that was pretty much what we did. And I don't tend to find interior footage that particularly great. It's difficult for the viewer to orient themselves. It's difficult for me to control what I'm doing while doing a camera and that. And it was the first time of the day, and quite frankly, I couldn't be bothered. Now, in hindsight, I should have done, because the Giannis D has a huge engine room, and it was actually quite nice to go in and have an explore, and there was plenty of room, so I kind of wish I took you in, but I didn't, so that was that. One tip and one bit of advice I would give you about that is don't do it guided, because the guys just take you in and then through, and you do the little, you know, Disney tour through it, where there is absolutely so much more to go and explore. So me and Neil went in and we went and did it ourselves, and it was absolutely superb, and we spent the whole dive just exploring the engine room, so that's how good it is. Third, I think we did the Crisula K. So welcome to the Crisula K, aka the tile wreck, and as you can see, because it's on the same reef as the previous 2, the viz is poor still, unfortunately, but let's go and have a tour. So once you get into the guts of the ship, guys, all you come across are these tiles. Now, they say tiles, they're more like slabs to me, slabs of Italian marble, which you'd think be worth a few quid, but I'm told it's not economically viable to recover them. So there's literally thousands of them, thousands and thousands and thousands, and that's all you can see. So yeah, kind of is what it is. across the bridge and some of the deck structures was quite pretty and nice. You can see the sun trying to come through, but about here, unfortunately, my GoPro crapped out, so this is about as much as footage as I got on this one, I'm afraid. So once we were doing the Cresula Quay, we headed off up to Sharm, and we did, I think it was a site called Sharks on Yolanda, and the Yolanda wreck, I think, was one of these toilet wrecks. There was lots of toilets about. I don't really remember too much about the wreck, but I think for me that's because it was all about the reef, which we'll get onto in the next section. So anyway, moving on, you get to obviously the big one, Thistlegorm. And here she is, and she is a big ass boat, so pretty much brand new when she went down in 1941, I think. It's not so much the boat that's of interest, but what she was carrying. The first thing you kind of come across is, weirdly, a train. So this is one of the steam locomotives that the boat was carrying. Oh, hello, fish. Come on, move. Yeah, so anyway, back to the train. This was the one of the steam locomotive it was carrying. Apparently the other one was just blown clean off it. And I work in the railway, and I've got some cranky friends that are probably going to get excited about this, but it was pretty cool to see. I can't admit seeing a train underwater before. So a few shots of the stern guns that probably never got used, and then we head round the stern to the rudder and the prop, which obviously not made of anything valuable, otherwise they'd add that bad boy away. One of the other things that this wreck is renowned for is literally the amount of ammunition, guns, and basically weapons of war that's on it. And I've got to be honest, it is everywhere. You can see just the tops of some there, and we'll go down and have a look because some of the, obviously the guides and the locals are keeping them clean so you can see some of the dates on them. Again, look, boxes of them. One there, another one there. There is just so much ammunition on this. I mean, it just goes to show what a real loss to the Allies this would have been. And then you swim a bit further forward and you come across these. And honestly, guys, these are the biggest shells I've ever seen in my life. Like, one was literally as tall as my house. I don't even know what size gun shoots the damn thing, but it was just vast and epic. So it just unbelievable. So getting towards the bow now, the rest of the train that you saw on the sand earlier is here. So this is the tender where they would have put the coal, and you know, she's in pretty good condition, to be honest. A bit further forward there's some winch structure, and forward of that there's the water bowser that also would have been on the train. And weirdly, it must have been empty when she went down, because look what the water's done to it. The pressure's crushed it. And the other famous bit about the Thistlegorm, guys, is obviously, if you've been in diving for more than a couple of years, you'll have seen pictures of this in various magazines, but it's what's in the holds. The hold of this ship is absolutely stuffed with more war paraphernalia. You've got all these trucks here. Inside the trucks are stuffed with, I think, what are BSA motorbikes. There are trailers, there are bits of aeroplane, there's wings, fuselages, there's all kinds of stuff. Again, this must have been such a loss to the Allies at the time. It breaks your heart, it really does, but unfortunately they're rotting away pretty quick. But anyway, I'll just let you have a little view. That's the Thistlegorm. Definitely bucket list diving and definitely worth doing. So yeah, obviously, as you can see, lots and lots of stuff to see there and do there. And to be quite frank, if you put that anywhere in the UK, there wouldn't be half the ammunition that there is now, because we'd have pilfered it all. Yeah, to be frank, it would be sat on the living room at Pride of Place, brassoed up. So that's probably a good thing it is where it is. That was the wrecks, and very nice they were too. But for me, as you well know guys, I am not a super wreck fan. I don't get like super excited about them. For me, it's about the squidge. And what can you say about Egypt? Whether you do it shore based, or whether you do it on a day boat, or whether you do it like I did on a liveaboard, there is so much to see, there is so much to meet, there is so much going on. Particular favourites of mine, if I was to pick two, I think Jackson Reef is possibly one of my most favourite places in the world, but I think trumping it just is the Barge Dive site, because the Barge has got absolutely everything. It's got a little wreck, it's got a fantastic reef, it's got fantastic sandy bits. So I think for me the highlight was the Barge. I think I could probably do, you know, a good 3 or 4 days just moored on the Barge and going and proper exploring that. And the other thing the Barge has got, which nowhere else had, is obviously George, which I've got some nice shots of, which unfortunately I'm not going to share with you guys. I shared little clips of it on my social media, so please do check me out on Facebook and Instagram to go see a little snippet of that. But I'm afraid I am saving that footage for the Anti-Frac Scuba Club film night, because I do intend to win that this year and I'm going in strong. So there's not much to say. I'm not going to sit here and bore you to death guys with this is a this is that, this is the other, although I did buy a guide so that I know what I'm looking at, and I would recommend you do too, because it's so much better when you can say, oh, that's that and that's that. But other than that guys, here's a montage, so sit back and enjoy this for a couple of minutes. And just remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what I saw, and this is why it's took me so long to get this video out, because there was so much good stuff out there. So anyway, enjoy. So that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That was Egypt in a very, very compact thing. It was fabulous. I had a brilliant time, and despite the slight issues at the beginning of the week with the slightly, for Egypt, rubbish viz, I had a whale of a time on the diving. It was fabulous, it was magical, and I absolutely loved it and cannot recommend it highly enough. If you've not been out there, I know thousands of you guys have, but if you've not been out there, you really need to go. It is absolutely beautiful. So I did promise you a little sneaky extra bit at the end of the video, and all it is to advertise the fact that I do have one space left in my apartment for Malta. This is September 12th to the 19th, so if you're not doing anything and if you fancy a little trip over to Malta, then do drop me an email. I'll send you more details and hopefully I'll see you there. But other than that, guys, that is it. The next video will be the review video. Please do subscribe. Please do give this video a like if you find it in any way helpful, useful, or even slightly entertaining, because it does help me out a great deal. Other than that, I'm going to quit and enjoy some of this British sunshine, because as we know, this could be the end of it. As always, I will see you on the next one.